we don't play as like one person. We always play like it's in groups. You have a drum ensemble, right? You have an ensemble that it's all about community, right?
Right.
So he would draw this big circle and then draw your C might be here and your C might be here and your C might be here and your C
That's
might be here.
great.
But collectively, this is our C.
4, 3, 2, 1.
Hey everyone, welcome to the vlog. My name is Kevin White and this is Vibrant Vienna. Today on the show, we're talking to Dave Reynolds, the founder and director of Vienna Jammers, a percussion ensemble for kids ages 8 to 17. He's a leader in the community. He's been a teacher at Vienna Elementary for how many years?
Coming up on 20, we're at year 19.
Wow, that's awesome. And he's got some other kind of side projects that he has working in the community, but Vienna Jammers is a 501(c) nonprofit organization, and you can find them on the town green. You can find them at different events in Vienna. So welcome to the show, Dave.
Oh, Kevin, man, thank you so much for having me. I came across Vibrant Vienna literally like a week ago, and I was like, oh man, this is awesome. I got to reach out to this guy. And so I'm super pumped to be here and just have a chat and get Vienna Jammers out there, get the name out there.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for joining, and thanks for letting us enter your studio and take a look, and just to dive right in and ask some questions. You were kind of giving me a pre-roll tour of your facility there, which is on, it's not Mill Street, it's
Dominion, the next one over.
Dominion, right.
Mm-hmm.
And you've got and we'll do that again, you'll show us around, but right now we're taking a look at some woodworking material behind you, which is really cool. And I thought it was really fascinating that what really makes it interesting, this ensemble, is aside from the fact that you're an amazing, I mean, I've seen you guys perform, all three of your groups at all different age levels perform, and you're just really amazing to see you leading those kids and seeing them engaged and following you. Aside from all that awesomeness, you actually build your marimbas and you build your steel drums and the actual instruments that the kids are playing on right there in your studio there. So how does that work? Do you get the kids involved in that? How did that start? I mean, there's so many questions that come to mind.
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, a couple of things. I don't want to take credit where credit is not due. So the steel pans I don't make. Those are made in Trinidad and delivered here. I'm not yet into haven't cut my teeth yet on the metalworking, so the metallurgy. So I don't make the steel pans, but the building of the marimbas actually started. So the Vienna Jammers, we back up a little bit. It started in 2005 at Vienna Elementary School. It was just an after-school group. And that went on for a number of years until 2012, which is when I decided that I wanted to take it outside of the school system and open it up to more students, open it up to more opportunities, just really take more control over the ensembles, so that it wasn't just the volunteer stuff, and it wasn't just the after school group that was just Vienna Elementary School. So I went ahead and in 2012, we moved outside the school system, formed the 501(c)(3), the nonprofit, so we could fundraise. And along that process of moving from school outside of school, besides finding the space, you also had to have the equipment. And so I knew that was like a big key component to being able to get started, was getting the equipment. We play on what we would call like African style, kind of like from Zimbabwe, marimbas. So they're not chromatic like a piano, they're more diatonic, so they just have like the white keys of the piano. And they're not professional marimbas that you might find in an orchestra. So they're a little bit more raw in style, and the playing style is a little bit more rambunctious, if you will. It's a little more raw, which is perfect for kids, right? So you don't have to be like have this professional, perfect everything and this, gentle touch. You can just sit there and kind of, enthusiastically play, as they like to say.
Cool.
So I had come across these marimba style bands when I came across a gentleman by the name of Walt Hampton, who runs a marimba outfit and a steel pan outfit, actually, out in the Tri-Cities in Washington, the state. And I'd come across him through Will Schmid and World Music Drumming, which was stuff that I was already doing as continuing education for my teaching career. And so when I kind of came across this, I was like, ooh, there's like it opened up a whole new world, which led me to, okay, these instruments, I can't go purchase a bunch of marimbas. They cost $4,000 to $5,000 a pop. The professional ones do. And there's an ensemble in Louisville, Kentucky called the Louisville Leopards, and Diane Downs, who has also been a great mentor for me. And they have they do kind of this, something similar, an ensemble, percussion ensemble for kids, and they have all professional marimbas and xylophones and vibraphones. But their style's a little different. They kind of focus in on jazz and just, it's different. And so I was like, all right, so I just need to learn how to build these things, because that's going to be the most cost effective, right? It's going to cost the least. So I did some research and found there's some sites online that have plans and videos and walkthroughs. There's a couple guys out there selling marimba stuff, how to build your own marimbas. But there's a gentleman by the name of Brent Hull, who has been in the general music world for a long time and also works in what they call the Orff Schulwerk, which is just an approach to teaching general music. He's been in the Orff Schulwerk world for a while as a teacher, and he also builds these marimbas, and he's down in Bridgewater, so it's not too far away from here relative to most of the builders. So I reached out to Brent Hull and I said, hey, I need to buy some marimbas from you, but I also want to learn how to build them so that I can save some money. So would you be willing for me to come down? We'll buy 3 marimbas off of you, and I'll come down for a weekend and kind of like apprentice, just see where you watch the process. He was super awesome, great guy. And he's like, absolutely, come on down. And he has a program. I don't know how active it is right now, but he has a program where he actually goes to elementary schools and they'll buy a marimba, but he'll go in and he'll do as little or as much of the pre-work as the teacher and the school wants. And then he'll have the kids help finish building the marimba. So you had asked, how did the kids build it, whatever. So the first 3, we kind of did that. I went down and apprenticed. I saw him. I watched the process. I saw where his resources were coming from, and then he came up here one weekend, and we didn't even have a space yet at this point. So we were still kind of using my music room at school, kind of after school. And we went to our first president of the board, Brad Reed. We went to his house in his garage, and we had the marimbas in there, and he brought down a whole bunch of chisels and hammers. I'm looking over there because I think I might even still have some of them, because he kind of let me just keep them. But he brought a bunch of chisels and mallets, and we started the process of tuning the bars, which is super. Now that I know and have since then I've learned a lot more. That's definitely it's a labor of love. I can go here.
Please. Yeah.
So I think, because in my little scrap pile here, I think I have some. I might even have some of the original bars. Here's an example. Hold on. Sorry if this is not the greatest video, but let me see if I can find. Oh yeah, perfect. And let's see, where are those now? Nah, I'm not that organized. I can't pull those out, but they're over there in the stash somewhere. So these are some examples of some of the big marimba bars. These are the bass, we would call the bass marimba, kind of like in an orchestra, right? So these are huge marimba bars. And you can, I'll see if I can show this. These are probably dud bars that have cracked or broken at some point or gone so far out of tune, they're just, they go to the boneyard. But anyway, here's an example. This was actually one of the original bars that was tuned on that day. And so what he did, I think you can kind of see that. So what he did to start with was he would cut a center line, so you knew where the center point was. And then you would start, and obviously all the wood was still here. And then the kid would start with a little chisel and a hammer and just start like chisel, chisel, chisel across and remove some wood, and then do it on the other side and chisel, chisel, chisel across, and then keep working your way back, all the while checking it, like hitting it and checking it with a tuner to see where the note is. Like, I'm trying to make this an F, like it's even on there. I'm trying to make this an F. How far away am I? And there's all kinds of, I mean, the professional marimbas sometimes say they triple, quadruple, and quintuple tune them, meaning they're tuning up to 3, 4, and 5 different frequencies within this piece of wood to get it so locked in.
Right.
So anyway, we would just try to tune the main fundamental frequency, like that. So, but there's all kinds of physics to how much wood you're removing, and
there's overtones to any kind of vibration. You have all these overtones. Yeah. And I'm a musician, so I have to admit.
I'm glad because I'm thinking the general public listening to this right now is probably going, what?
This is too deep. No, but this is great. I love this. This is amazing.
I do get passionate about stuff.
No, this is great. I love this.
Yeah, so this is an example. You can see this one was all like, you can see the chisel marks even, and this is a bar that actually has broken. You can see the crack there. So like this is definitely scrap. Once it cracks like that, it's gone. It's a goner. This is an example of a bar that I later on I tuned, like a new bar, and you can see the difference in the actual. That you don't see any chisel marks here because the process is cut the basic arc maybe on a bandsaw, and then take it over to a drum sander and start sanding it.
Got it.
And so that process would look. This is so dorky. I hope some woodworkers are watching this, because otherwise people are gonna be like, why are you showing this? So this would be like the bandsaw, right? So the process would look kind of like this. So you'd start off with a blank that doesn't have any arc at all, and you'd come up here on the bandsaw and you'd start to carve out the arc. So you get rid of a lot of the wood that way, and you'd bring the bar closer, about, I don't know, maybe like a minor third away from where you eventually want it. And then you come over to the sanding station.
A minor third above.
High, yeah. Once you go, so you can.
When you're carving, it's going low. No, when you're carving, it's going higher.
Yeah, that's what you would think. I know, it's whack. So you would think that, as you remove density from something, it's going to get lighter and higher in pitch. But what happens here is, as you start to carve, away the center, the amount of vibration that the wood can go actually the wood gets looser, right? Because so if you think like a guitar string,
so the wavelength gets longer, therefore the note gets lower.
Right. So it's actually like a guitar string is super tight, right? And it's higher pitch, and then you loosen it up and it can vibrate more, so it goes lower, the pitch goes down.
Right.
So there's two things happening here. By removing some of the mass, you actually are making the pitch go higher, but by removing the mass here in the middle, you're making the wood be able to vibrate more to give you a lower, slower vibration, like a lower frequency. The amount that you're lowering it versus the amount that you're losing mass is not directly proportional. So as you remove, it goes a little higher, but as you remove, it goes a lot lower. And especially right in the middle, it's crazy. I can take this like a blank bar, like this is too long, but this would be like a blank, right? I could take this blank and like it has a pitch to it. It has a frequency to it. I don't know if you can hear that or not.
I do, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So da da, it's like that note.
Yep.
If I came in and just cut right in the middle, like just the width of a saw blade, and cut down maybe below halfway, that note, whatever this frequency is, would go down a whole lot. Just because all of a sudden, as soon as you do that, this thing, the frequencies that are happening in the wood fibers are just allowed to go a lot more. It's crazy.
Right.
So anyway, to finish it off, this is a sanding station. So this is like a belt sander. This is a drum sander right here. And so what I do is I would come on the drum sander and I would just shave there's two sides, but I would just start shaving wood and then come over and check the frequency. And so this one's dead because it has a crack in it. But anyway, you get the idea. There's a little more.
What kind of wood is that?
Okay, so that's a good question. So there's the tuner.
Okay.
So the Brent Hull, when he was building them, and I think he still does build them with the same wood, he uses cherry. So any hard wood will work. Cherry, ash, padauk, rosewood, like a lot of hardwoods. They're just better because the stiffness of it gives you the frequency rings louder. So he was using cherry. So we started off with cherry. The first three instruments we got were all cherry. The professional marimbas that you see used to be all rosewood, and then that started going extinct. So they were like, we can't keep using this rosewood. Like Brazilian rosewood is like the primo wood. But then the second wood that they found is called African padauk, Padauk. I think is how you spell it. And so padauk, it's this beautiful. Actually, that other bar that I held up there, that's padauk. So it's this beautiful kind of dark purple wood, super hard. It rings really well. It's got, the resonation on it's really good. So anyway, I predominantly I've used the cherry. I've got some that I've made of padauk. And then I did another apprenticeship with a guy named Tom Bourne, Bourne. He's a marimba builder way out west. So he's in Bellingham, Washington. At least that's where he was when I did the workshop. He's been building marimbas like this for 20 plus years. So he's like a master builder. And the West Coast has a bunch of marimba bands up and down it like this, because that's kind of where the first people that came over from Zimbabwe kind of settled in the West Coast. So they're like, let's keep this marimba ensemble alive, this tradition. And so that's like the epicenter. And so all up and down the West Coast, that's kind of survived. These marimba bands are on the East Coast and a few in the Midwest and a few in the South, but not nearly as many. So all the builders are on the West Coast.
Right.
So that's where I went. Tom Bourne, I apprenticed with him for a 3-day workshop and learned so much. And he actually builds a lot of his basses, the lowest end, out of ash because it doesn't resonate as much, but he kind of wants the bass to be a little punchier, like an upright bass, and a lot less ringy, like you might want the melody to sing through.
Sure. Oh, right. So in an ensemble, you're using different materials depending on the part.
100%.
Got
yeah.
it. Got it. And are the kids?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Are the kids aware of that? Hey, you're going to be using this one because this wood is going to resonate, or is it just like, yeah, you're playing here?
Yeah, I think the kids are aware of the. I think they're aware of whether where they are within the ensemble as far as a bass, a baritone, a tenor, an alto, or soprano,
right?
Or even a lead part that might sing through all of that. And they're aware of you've got different mallets with different. I'm trying to think of the scale of density. Yeah, the hardness of the rubber. There's a scale for that. Somebody will know it watching this, but anyway. So they're aware.
Comment below.
Comment below. That scale. The something. Anyway, so they're aware of that. But when it comes down to it, this is all. If you look at some of the marimbas that you might find in Zimbabwe, or even some of the Gil, which is more West African, so Ghana or Guinea, you want to talk about raw and unrefined, that's the sound. So even if I build some out of cherry and some out of ash and some out of padauk and they're kind of in tune, but they're not perfectly in tune, that's not the point.
Right.
Yeah. One of my really good mentors, Soa Mensa, he's a drummer from Ghana, and he was one workshop I'll never forget, and it's better with a visual, but I don't have a good board to show you right now. So he would draw the letter C because somebody had asked hey, my Gilles sounds way different than their Gilles. Like my note and her note, they're supposed to be the same and they don't sound the same. And he would say, well, look, and you guys are used to like a C, and he would draw like a C on a staff, and it would be this little dot, right? And he goes, you think that's the C? And then he would draw like a big circle, and he was like, but in Ghana, we don't play as like one person. We always play like it's in groups. You have a drum ensemble, right? You have an ensemble that it's all about community, right?
Right.
So he would draw this big circle and then draw your C might be here and your C might be here and your C might be here and your C might be here. But collectively, this is our C, right? It's like this is so
man.
Lessons for years right there, right?
Yeah, that is huge. I love how that applies to so many things.
So many things. It's all about the community, right?
Yeah, totally.
That's what the Jammers truly is all about, from within and out. So like from within, they understand that like their parts all come together to make the piece, and then and so it's not all about you. It's not the Jammers and so. It's
and in spite of imperfection, right?
Oh, definitely.
Right.
Because of imperfection.
Because of imperfection, exactly. Yeah.
Look at the builder.
That's so beautiful, man. Yeah.
And then outwardly, right? It's now spread that sound to the community like that. The biggest purpose of us being is, you've got the experience that the kids in the ensemble have, but without someone to play for and no one to share that experience with outwardly, what's the point? It's only halfway there. So the second piece is being able to share that, and that's
awesome.
Your C and my C and my C. Yeah,
I love it. I love that. That's so cool. So do you teach percussion at Vienna Elementary?
So I'm not the actual band teacher that would teach like traditional percussion. So I'm the general music teacher. So I have kindergarten through 6th grade general music that come 2 or 3 times a week for 90 minutes total. And in the beginning, we're just learning how to explore our voices and our bodies through movement and sounds. And a lot of it's learning through play. I try to keep it that way all the way through 6th grade if I can. They'll let me get away with it.
Yeah.
But then eventually along the way, we start incorporating, the program of studies starts incorporating in music literacy, and they start with recorders in 3rd grade. So they've got an instrument and kind of read the music. And then once they get to 4th grade, they can choose to do strings in addition to general music. And then once they get into 5th grade, they can choose to also do band. And there's also a extra, I do the chorus. So I have a 5th and 6th grade chorus that's outside of just the general music classroom.
Right. Cool. Well, do you want to take us around your shop a little bit more and show us? We covered the woodworking community. They are loving it.
They're jealous. They're ready for more. Yeah. Give them a little bit more shot. Right.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And so for parents who are watching, right? I mean, there's so many different things in Vienna that appeal to families that they can get their kids involved in, obviously in sports and creative arts, martial arts, all kinds of things. So Vienna Jammers is another unique option for parents to get their kids involved in something. And speaking, I guess, a little subjectively, it's exciting to watch you guys play because, and we were talking about this the other day, the ear balls. It's you're not just addressing musicality with these kids, but you are talking about, hey, you got to look engaged. That's part of the show. That's part of the entertainment factor for people who are watching and you guys will watch your videos back and kind of go through those and give little pointers for the kids on different things. But tell us more, man. I love how you're just leading this.
Well, you lobbed it up. You set it up. So this is Herm the turtle. Wait, what is it? What is it? Ertl the turtle, and Shoopy the poopy. And so this is Erica Everhart. Actually, I give her props. She painted this. But it's essentially, what you're talking about is whenever we go to a concert to hear live music, we go to hear it, but we don't just hear it. We also hear it with our eyes. So that's like the earballs, like eyeballs and ears at the same time. And I didn't even coin that. Somebody, I'm trying to remember who I heard that from first. I want to say it was like a little 6-year-old. But anyway, so the thing, and this is, I think this is the same for everything. Like if you go to a restaurant, and this is kind of how I explain it to the kids. If you go to, let's say you're going to go, I start off today. Anybody been to like a really nice restaurant, like a fancy restaurant? Yeah, everybody's been at least once, right? And so, at least in this area, for sure.
Right.
And so,
shout out to Basin's.
Great. Shout out to Basin's Blend 111, like
Clarity.
Clarity. Yeah, exactly. Maple Avenue restaurant. So I'll say, look, when you go, they bring you order, even you can order something like lasagna, and when you go and you order lasagna, the plate comes out and like it's like this beautifully presented piece that has maybe like a little bit of green in there, and there might be like a swoosh of something, and like it looks mouth-wateringly amazing, and even the expediter in the kitchen has made sure that the food's coming out, and it's coming out at its perfect, like it is primo, it's ready to be consumed. And you look at that and you start salivating. You're like, oh my gosh, this looks so good, right? And then you go and you take a bite, but before you're even gonna bite it, you already have this expectation, and then you take a bite and you're like, this is the best lasagna I've ever had. Like, sorry, Mom, but this is so good, right? And then you flip it and you could say, I could give that same exact lasagna recipe, exact ingredients, exact flavor, and I could just dump it, like plop it on a plate, don't even let it like set up, so it just kind of like blah, and just hand you the plate, put it in front of you, and you'd be like, oh, like this doesn't look. And then you take a bite and you might be like, oh, it's not bad, right? But it's the same flavor, it's the same everything except for the appearance.
Right.
So we do, from that lesson, they learn that we do so much as humans with our eyes, with our eyesight, before we take in anything, either with our ears or taste and smell anything, right? Like something looks amazing and you smell it, you're like, oh my gosh, this is, obviously there are exceptions to every rule, but so the same thing applies for performing, even more so. And so I tell them, look, if you don't have great stage presence, if you don't look engaged, if you're not part of what you're doing and actively in it, the audience is not going to care what it sounds like.
Right.
And that's the difference between being a good ensemble and being a great ensemble.
Yeah.
You can sound amazing, but if you don't look amazing while you're performing, the crowd is going to be like, oh, that was cute, this kid's playing, that was nice, But if you look amazing, the crowd's going to leave going, oh my goodness, you would not believe what I saw today, right? They're going to spread that word and say, this group of kids, oh my gosh, they were going crazy. They were, and so we call it turtle poop, to bring the story full around, right? So we call it turtle poop because, and my apologies to the ASLs, people in the world, or my deaf community, because I totally botched the sign language for this, and that's how turtle poop came about. So stage presence was what I was telling them about, right? Stage presence, ST, stage presence. And so I needed a way to like remind them while we were up on stage, because the kids just like everybody, they get nervous. You get nervous when you're trying to perform in front of people. It just happens, no matter how seasoned you are.
Right.
Yo mom walked out on that stage and still gets nervous, right?
Yep.
So anyway, so I tell them, I was like, stage presence. So the sign language for S looks like this, and the sign language for P, this is where I botched it, I thought looked like this, and that's not what P is. I think P is this way. And that might be wrong too. Again, my apologies. But so this was S, this was P, and I was just doing this, like, so that way I could just show them. Like I just said, hey, if you see me doing this, it means I'm bored. You look boring. Like you need to liven it up.
Right.
But that way I don't have to scream like, you look bull, you know.
Right. Sign. Yeah.
So I was doing this in rehearsal to show him, and for some reason, this is where my mind goes. Just don't ask. I was like, you know, I guess it looked like a little turtle head and some poop. I don't know. So I was like, it looks like a turtle pooping. And so I was like, that's it. And see your reaction right there, like the laughter and everything.
Yeah.
Immediate levity, right? Was
Right.
perfect, especially for
Yeah.
kids. So I could be like,
That's awesome.
now I can just say turtle poop, and like they immediately like lighten up a little bit and show the enthusiasm for the actual what they're doing. And so we talk about turtle poop all the time now. So turtle poop, and now instead of saying your stage presence, I just say, guys, how is your turtle poop here? Or like, what do you think of your turtle poop? And it's just they did a whole thing one time where it's like, got your keys, got your wallet, got your phone, you know, that whole thing, like where your phone, wallet, key before you leave place, right? So we did a whole like a challenge where they had to videotape phone, wallet, keys, turtle poop.
Turtle poop.
Don't leave one out. Use all four.
I love it.
And so they did a whole like video challenge so you could present that in video form and do a little contest. But anyway, so that's cool. That's the stage presence, and you're right. That's what makes that is one thing that definitely makes the ensemble memorable, is because the kids get that it matters what you look like in addition to what you sound like.
Right. Yeah.
So here's the rest of the tour. This is the marimba room. So here are those marimbas that we talked about. Actually, the one right behind me, that is the bass marimba that Brent Hull came up and made. And if I went up underneath it and showed you, you'd see the chisel marks from the kids that tuned. And you can see there's been a couple that have been replaced. You can tell the difference in the color of the wood. But those are all cherry. It's all cherry wood. So this cherry has been oiled. That one has been oiled, and the rest of them haven't. This is the newest one. One broke, so you can tell. And then there's we got the tall ones behind me, and I've got about 3 kids per instrument. And then you can see we call the low riders. Those are the ones that are smaller that the kids sit down on. And then all this mess in the middle is called the engine room, and that's where the kids who aren't playing drum set or marimbas also are kind of adding to the beat and the groove in the engine room. And that's actually where my biggest turtle poop dancers end up. They're like, I want to be engine room, because they want to dance and go crazy.
That's great, and it gives an opportunity for the younger kids, right?
Definitely. And then this is a mural. We had talked about this earlier. This is a mural done by Nina Orozco. I think she's a senior now. I don't think she's graduated, because I think she did this her junior year. I could be off by 1 year on that. But anyway, she goes to Marshall and did an AB arts project. And this was it. And so she did this mural, and it's got some elements to it that are, kind of unique to jammers. And then the idea was that AB art kids could keep coming up the wall and keep the mural going, so they could do it all the way up. Instead, cool. For now, we have just pictures of the ensembles.
That looks beautiful.
Anyway,
we got to connect you with Eleanor Dowdy. She painted the mural behind Taco Bamba.
Oh, yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about.
She did a mural inside of Killen Company on that. If you go in Killen Company on the back wall, she also did a mural in there.
Cool.
So she's phenomenal. There's I have an interview with her on Vibrant Vienna, but she's got Etsy and all kinds of stuff out there. She is super, she's a professional artist, right? She does it for a living. Yeah. She's done murals in Orlando and on these huge buildings. And anyway, that's cool, man. That looks beautiful. Really nice.
That's awesome. Yeah. There's actually one more mural I'll show you. Maybe if she watches this interview, she'll appreciate it. There's a mural outside of our space that was, I don't know who did it. It was on the side of a skate shop at the time, Baha'i World. But it's now Vienna Sports, but the mural's still there. And we use it as our backdrop for pictures and stuff. So this is a steel pan ensemble room. So our 7th grade through seniors now, actually. So we have, you had mentioned 8 through 17 years old. You might have gotten that from the website, but it's 2nd grade to seniors. So it's all the way up to 18-year-olds. And actually we have our 2nd senior in the ensemble this year. We just graduated our 1st senior last year, or 2 years ago. And so this is the steel pan ensemble. So this was the idea, and I kind of got this idea. I totally got this idea actually from Diane Downs and the Louisville Leopards. So they used to age out after 6th grade. So that, whole point is it's a percussion ensemble for kids. But then they go into 7th grade and they still want to do more, right? And so eventually she just decided that they were going to get some steel pans and just start up a kind of middle school, high school, hybrid, whatever, steel pan ensemble. And so that's what she did. And so when I went down in 2012 to check out what she was doing down there in Louisville, I was like, oh, this is great. And so after we got going and got the instruments, the marimbas built and kind of had that started, then it was like, all right, I know what the next thing is. Let's buy some steel pans and start a steel pan ensemble for the older kids. And so that's what we've done. And so,
Cool.
and it's the same like an orchestra. So you've got like, these are the bass pans. So it's like 6 pans for one kid. And there's only 3 notes on each pan, all the way up through the triple cellos and the double seconds, all the way up until you get to the tenors, which it's a funny word because it's like the lead pan. But the lead pan has like 26. This is a low C tenor, and it's got 26 notes in it just in one pan. So
wow.
And you got, most people have heard these sounds before. This is the traditional island sound that you hear, and you're like, oh, I'm in Jamaica.
Right.
When in fact, it's Trinidad and Tobago. Trinidad is where the steel pan originated from, and it's still it's huge down there. It's actually a really cool story because it started off kind of like, if you could picture like West Side Story, like it started off with like gangs basically. And it was like my gang's pans versus your gang's pans. Like, but it got to the point where it got real violent, as things do. And then the government kind of came in and said, we're going to start like giving money to help your steel pan ensembles be, get uniforms and look more professional and get better equipment if you'll stop fighting. I mean, this is like obviously this is a short and dirty history version.
Right.
Please don't take this as this is the all be all, but the essence of it is that they started these pan ensembles from these different neighborhoods, kind of started up because they were getting money and from the government, and they were looking better and sounding better and getting better equipment as long as they weren't being violent, right?
Right.
And so it was this really cool thing where the government kind of came in and said, we need to figure out a solution. And that was their solution. And that started up all these, and this is the beauty of music too. So the rivalry were still there. Like whose neighborhood's better? Our neighborhood's better. But how are you solving that? How are you resolving that? And how are you seeing which one's better? You're doing it through music competition.
Love it.
Like,
right.
Shanks and whatever. So
right.
Music is always better, right? So anyway,
music is always better.
That's how it kind of came about, and then this is only like in the 1950s, so it hasn't been around that long.
Wow.
And there's a guy by the name of first name Elliot Manetti, I think. Elliot. He's passed away since, but not too long ago, and he came from Trinidad, and he actually kind of settled in Morgantown, West Virginia, where West Virginia University is. And he settled there, and he basically started up a pan ensemble, and then pan ensembles, and then teaching people, like basically a whole steel pan school. And he did it all through the University of West Virginia. So like tons of tuners and pan builders and players have all, that's where they that was their root. We talked about the epicenter of the marimbas in the United States being on the West Coast. Well, the epicenter of the pan is right there in West Virginia. That's because of Manetti.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And there's a whole new world. I mean, there's a whole big world to it now, obviously, but.
Right. And I think you said this already, but you don't make the pans.
Correct. Yeah, I not make the pans. I have toyed with, because they're two things. One, they're expensive, and two, it takes a long time to get them. So besides the fact that they're in Trinidad, so that's, there's a little bit of logistics of figuring out how to get a 55-gallon barrel oil drum from Trinidad to the United States. They're on island time. And for all those people out there that know what island time is, you know exactly what I mean. Stuff doesn't happen. It's just a culture. It's like
Yeah.
You want to meet for lunch? Let's meet for lunch. And you could be there a few hours before you saw anybody, maybe.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Got it.
So
That's cool.
So like, you know, we would put in an order, and maybe like sometimes even up to like a year plus, we would get the order. So like,
Right.
yes, I definitely given it a lot of thought. Like, if I just learn how to make these things and tune them, we could be getting a lot more at a lot cheaper cost, and you know, getting them sooner, because it's just me. Like, it's just a matter of how fast can I build them. So West Virginia, every year they have a summer kind of course curriculum thing where you can go if you're interested in learning how to tune, if you're interested in learning how to build, if you're interested in learning how to play. Like, it's a whole steel pan universe. And
Wow.
I haven't gone, but I've toyed around with going and learning. I just learned when 2012 happened and I was starting the nonprofit and needed to learn how to build the instruments. I had never done any woodworking before in my life. So that was like a newfound, whoa, this is amazing. It's so cool to go from raw material to a finished product. And then on top of that, as a musician, it's a musical instrument. It's like a winner. But so I got comfortable with wood. I'm not as comfortable with metal. I've taken some welding classes and stuff, but like working with metal I'm not there yet. So I just like, you know what, we're gonna stick with what we have right now for a while, and if we need to grow. You also saw that our space is pretty tight. So even if I could build, you know, 5, 6, 7 more instruments, we don't really have the space to put them anywhere. So
Right. Yeah, metallurgy is definitely a whole other. You might need another floor or something.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
So tell us about the different. You have the 3 different groups: the Jammers Black, the Jammers.
Oh, yeah. So when we started, it was just one ensemble that I brought with me. I had a parent meeting and said, I want to take this outside the school. Would you guys be willing to go with me? There were 20 kids in the ensemble. 16 of them were 6th graders. I said, I'm going to need you in 7th grade to like still commit to this, to like get it going out into the public. And 16 of the 20 said, yep, we're in. And for almost all of those were 6th graders going into 7th grade. There were a few like 4th graders. Actually, one of those 4th graders, Kel Bell, she's one of our seniors now in the steel pan ensemble. So super cool stuff. But so it started with one ensemble in 2012, and then we kind of had auditions and built some more, and then we did our big performance at the end of the year we called the Big Jam. And then we started summer camps, which was basically our auditions for the next year. And that's kind of how we roll now. We are up to 120 kids. We have actually 6 ensembles, and we have an adult group.
Oh, wow.
So we have 4 marimba groups and 2 steel pan groups, and then an adult group. And the four, the reason you feel like, wait, I thought there were only 3. Like, there was the younger, the older, and the steel. And so basically how it works is we've got 2 marimba groups that are more performing groups. They are the groups that go out there and perform out in the public a ton, right? And they meet twice a week, so it's more commitment and it's more expectation. And then we have and that's a younger and an older group, right? And then we have another group that meets only once a week, and they're not really a performance ensemble. They're a get the experience ensemble. And then at the end of the year, they get to perform at the Big Jam, and they usually get to perform at Vienna, which is on the town green there. So they have 2 performances at the end of the year, but because they're only meeting once a week, and none of these ensembles, unlike like when I started in band and I had a trumpet, or before then when I was taking piano lessons, like I'd go to my lesson once a week, and then I'd practice, every day. Well, supposed to practice every day. This is different, right? So the kids come here, we rehearse, and then they go away, and then until they come back, there is no practicing. So the growth and the learning curve is longer. So when you're only coming once a week and then you're gone from it for a whole week and you've forgotten half the stuff you did the week before, it's a slower process. So the groups that meet once a week, they don't really perform out, but they're still part of the ensemble, and they get performance. They do performance at the end of the year, And it's also an opportunity for them to be, some kids do it because they can't commit more time. And some kids do it because they're not quite ready for the like full on 2 days a week perform, let's go, go, go. Like just getting used to it. So it's kind of a mix. And so that's our light groups are green and white. We do it by color. So Jammers Red and Jammers Black is our younger and our older performing groups. Jammers Green and Jammers White are our younger and our older experienced groups. And then we have our steel pan ensembles, and those are divided into our steel pan ensemble, which all 7th graders who were in Jammers up to the 6th grade in the rumor groups, they all can just go into it if they want to. And then they can continue in the steel pan group, or they can audition for the advanced steel group. And so we have an advanced steel group, which is mostly the older kids, and our regular steel group. And so there's our 2 steel pan ensembles.
Got it. And this is all on the website, where people can get more information about how to do it. Do you want to talk about how many teachers do you have helping you out?
Yeah, so it was myself for the first once we became a nonprofit for the first 4 years. I think it's our 7th year. Yeah, so the first 4 years it was just me, and then after that 4th year we were able to hire an assistant director, Dakota Kaler. I call him Monster Kaler. Every Jammers has a Jammers nickname. So Monster Kaler, and he's fantastic. He did his undergrad at IUP in percussion, and he did his master's at George Mason in percussion, performance, and pedagogy. Percussion is not my background, so it's nice to have a trained percussionist that also can give that perspective coming into the ensemble. So
awesome.
And he's been great to be able to have him, because he's a gigging musician. He's got a few different teaching jobs here and there. He just kind of puts it all together as a musician, which means he has time to come in and do this as well as his other gigs. And so, and he also gets something out of it too. He gets to teach privately, so he gets to use the space. He pays rent to the Jammers organization, but he has access now to the space, and so he teaches privately. So it actually works out well, because he can do private percussion instruction here, and then that helps us too, because we can get kids taking private lessons if they want. But the Vienna Jammers experience overall, I would say, is much more about it's rehearsing, it's learning how to work together, it's learning how to listen to one another, learning how to know where you fit within an ensemble. I mean, these are like bigger life lessons that I won't ramble on about, but that, and it all is centered around creating music together. So that's another, huge value to it. And so that's kind of like the Vienna Jammers. We're not, this is not if you want your child to become a better percussionist per se, like actual technique and stuff, I would say they need to take private lessons or pursue it in band and their schools. Here, we certainly work on technique. I mean, I'm not going to let kids get away with, junky technique or playing something wrong, just flat out not doing it right. But here it's more about learning how to be a good musician, and percussion is the avenue to do that.
Yeah. And I can say, just personally, being a pianist, a classically trained pianist, that was one of the things I missed growing up as a musician, where the piano is great for musically, you're getting a visual of what the circle of fifths looks like better than like maybe a guitarist is going to get, right? So the black and white keys and all of that. But the opportunities to play in ensembles wasn't as abundant, just by the nature of you're practicing on your own, you're probably learning something that you're going to perform for release, or, that's just going to be you playing it. And so as a high schooler getting into chamber music, it actually was an eye opener how quickly I started absorbing and learning music, because in the team environment where, hey, if you get off tempo or you forget where you are, it's amazing how your mind, it works that much quicker, because hey, the rest of the team is relying on you to get back to where you need to be. But if you're on your own and you kind of make a mistake, you don't have that accountability. You can kind of go, all right, well, I'll just stop and I can start over. Right. And that
Right.
kind of became my own method of learning music, not sight reading, but muscle memory. And that was actually really a hindrance to me later, and kind of why I got out of music ultimately professionally, because I was looking at the Marine Corps band and all of that, and that's jazz and that's ensembles. And I went through the Navy School of Music, and they said, yeah, you're a really great musician, you can learn the music, your sight reading just isn't there. And for other reasons too, like jazz versus I had to learn jazz in 8 months basically. But yeah, it's like trying to learn a whole other language in 8 months. And so the ensemble work, I think, is super valuable, for kids in so many ways. When you look at the emphasis on team sports, and sure, the physical activity is great, but music does offer that. I think people look at the creative arts and they look at music as, right, like, oh, you're gonna be solitary, and no, it's a team. It is a team. It really is. Oh, I think I lost audio. Maybe your earbuds ran out of juice.
Yeah, let me hear it.
Oh, there they go.
Oh, there you go. Okay. Your audio has been a little gravelly in my ears, so I don't know if it's coming across that way on the recording or not, but
I can't tell. Hopefully not. Well, I'm glad you were doing most of the talking.
Yeah. Well, but yeah, that whole
no, it's good. It's good.
That whole teamwork thing is right. That is something that I think, and I was a total jock growing up. Like, don't get me wrong on this at all. Like, I played every one of the main sports you could possibly imagine, from soccer and football and basketball and baseball. Tennis is what I kind of ended up settling in on through high school, and played tennis in high school, and stuck with that. But so I get it. I'd like to think of myself as a athlete, right? And I've got eye-hand coordination, and I love sports, and I love competition. But I'm a musician, and I'm a music teacher.
Right.
And so, and so what happens is, I'll get families, or I'll get kids, and they'll be like, oh, well, we can't do this because we got sports. And I get that, because I'm like, yeah, I understand like this. And there's that physical aspect, it's great exercise, it's teamwork, like it's all those things that you just talked about. That, like, sports gives you that for sure, 100%. And I think what's missed there is that element of teamwork. It's sports, like, just, it hammers it on the head. Like, other than maybe, tennis maybe wasn't the greatest example. In doubles, there's some teamwork, but otherwise, tennis is a pretty solo sport. But in golf, I guess, right? But like, basketball team, a football team, a baseball team, like this is, you get it, because it's all about teamwork. Everybody plays their part, everybody has their role, and if you're not on board and on, then the team isn't great. Like, it's all about working together, and those are things that you have, like, the people that learn how to do that have so much more success in their lives, no matter what they end up doing, because of those skill sets, right?
Yes.
And that is it's so blatantly obvious in sports. In music, it doesn't immediately come across as being that obvious, because, for a multitude of reasons. But I think that the biggest thing is that they see a musician as someone who themselves is creating sound, whether they're singing or playing an instrument or whatever. So there's your musician. And if you look at the music industry as a whole, especially in, like, the pop culture centric, like, it's artists.
It's the rhythm section and the vocalist.
Right. Or it's about the featured performer.
Right.
And so what's missed is the teamwork that's actually happening there. But then you don't think, you don't look at, like, well, what about orchestra? It's like, yeah, well, they're all making sounds together, but, like, do you know how hard it is to play violin with 14 other people in an orchestra and sound like one? Like,
exactly.
If you want to know how hard it is, just go watch a beginning strings ensemble in elementary school play and listen to it. and then
Right.
go
Right.
to
Right.
high school, and then go hear a professional orchestra, and
Exactly.
then you'll get it. You'll be like,
Right.
holy cow.
Well, that's that comparison of the New York Philharmonic to I think it's the Chicago Symphony Orchestra. Chicago's actually better because the New York Phil are all individual virtuosos in their own right coming together, but the Chicago is ensemble as a group. They're actually better because they're not all divas, I guess. I don't know.
Sure.
but
Our New York Phil people, friends.
yeah, I know. They're all going, hey, wait a minute. That might be old information.
Right. They're all very good.
They're all very good. Yeah.
But you're right. It's the difference. I mean, those are the differences between the good ensembles and the great ensembles, is their ability to play together as an ensemble. And Willie, I mean, I even have it here. You know, we have our own jammers kids that get in their diva moments, and that, you know, they'll want to be the hot shot or whatever, and it's like, listen, it's the jammers. It's not the jammers and so. And like we can work on something. We can feature you in something, and that might be cool. And we do that on occasion, but it's less about the individual and more about the whole, and it's about the community. And that, you know, but you all have to buy in, and the more you're all bought in, and the more you're all focused on the whole, the better it becomes, because you're all there. And if you got one, you know, this guy, this one kid over here, this doesn't play as nice as this does. And so that definitely, I mean, you know, we can beat this subject to death, but it is. But it is about ensemble. It's about the community. It's about the togetherness. It's about the oneness. I heard somebody say it the other day. I think it was, I might have been watching American Idol. It might have been Lionel Richie, I think. And he was talking to one of the the contestants, and he said, you were born enough. And like that, I was like, oh man, I got to put that in the Reynolds Life Lesson book. Like that's Reynolds Life Lesson number 28. You were born enough. So like you are enough to be a part to make this happen. You don't have to be something like so unique and so special that you can't, that it only works that way. But rather, no, like just you come in and you're enough. So you don't have to go above and beyond here. This is
that's cool.
You won't get greater. You know what I mean? Like,
right. It's that African proverb. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. Have you heard that?
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah. That's an African. I forget. I saw that somewhere. And I always remember that. Cool, man. What else? What else do you want to? I mean, you've got so much going on. We could talk for another 2. I mean, and I'm willing to, but
sure.
I want to respect your time.
I appreciate that. I mean, this is fun. I could go on for a while too. You had mentioned the website. So if you go to Vienna Jammers, it's under Get Involved is where you would find all the information. Obviously, I guess I could say this is very present and in the moment, you know, as we're going through this COVID-19 pandemic, we've got, we're shut down just like everybody else is. And when your main thing is the main thing, and the main thing is community,
right?
And then you introduce something that is takes away the community,
right?
It's a challenge. And so we're kind of in the midst right now, just like I think a lot of businesses are, of zigging instead of zagging, right? Or whatever, like figuring out, okay, so what does this look like for us? What does this look like for our organization? How do we continue to provide the value to our community within and the community outside of us? How do we overcome some of the challenges of technology and being able to play sound together, because syncing up doesn't work that way in live, in post maybe
latency, and
there's that little thing called latency. And so how do we figure out making this jammers community still a jammers community until we can get back to a normalcy where we, can get together and meet and gather together. That's one of the challenges. I think look that, I'm saying go on the website, look under get involved, but it might look different than, going to sign up for a experience camp.
Right.
But we're working on it. We're going to make, I see us as this is a great opportunity for us to prosper kind of in a different avenue.
Sure.
And really actually be able to provide the Jammers experience to more people. So one of the things that I guess I did want to get across in the interview was that the normal flow works like this. We do a couple of mini camps in the year, and that gets you on our list. And then we do an experience camp, which is like a half-day, week-long camp in the summer, and that also serves as a audition and is this a good fit for you? Are you a good fit for us? So, trust me when I say that every kid that comes in here enjoys banging on things and making music. Every child. It doesn't matter how good I am or how bad I am. Every child loves to walk in to instruments that they can bang on and make sound. Yeah. And so I always get from every parent, my child loved it so much. And I'm like, I know. Like, I'm a kid at heart too. I love it too. So, but there's more to it, right? So the way kind of our ecosystem works is that week-long camp is an audition for me to be able to see, is this something that, your child would be successful at? And is this something that your child would get a lot out of? Because once you get chosen for the ensemble, we do have to turn away children. We turn away kids. I try to limit it as much as possible, but I would say of about maybe 60 kids that come through every summer for experience camp, about almost half we just don't have space or spots for, or they're not a good fit, right? It works both ways. So,
sure.
And so that's part of it, is that, the experience camp is a camp for kids to come experience it and see if they enjoy it. And do they enjoy doing it for 3 hours a day for a whole week, because once we choose a child for an ensemble, because the ensembles are limited in scope by space, and by a little bit of ability and attitude and behavior, like there's a whole thing that comes together.
Ingredients.
There's a lot of ingredients to it. Once we pick a student and say, hey, you've got a spot in this ensemble, and they say yes, we're also turning away the student, right? And so we have to kind of ask the students and the family to make that commitment at least for the year, which is a long commitment, like the whole year through every sports season. You got to commit for a whole year. And if it's a Jammers Black or Red ensemble that meets twice a week, it's twice a week for 50 minutes after school for the whole year. Right. It's a lot to commit to. There is a cost involved. We do have financial support. We've got scholarships and stuff. So a kid should never be able to not do it because they can't afford, right? But it is one of the things where that's kind of our flow. And then we ask for a year-long commitment. And once you're a jammer, then unless you do something to get kicked out of the ensemble, which I haven't had to do yet, but we do have a policies in place. Then you're a jammer for as long as each year you can just recommit. And then if you don't want to, then you can just say, I'm done. I enjoyed my year. I'm out. Sure. And so we just play it like that. And that's why, we started with one ensemble and we had two ensembles, and we got the steel pan, we had three ensembles. And part of that is opening that, the 6 ensembles is opening up that opportunity for as many as you can, knowing that you're limited in size and space and scope. As much as I'd love to say every kid that comes in, you can be a jammer, part of it is I think that's a totally different program. Like we are a perform as a community and share to the community ensembles. We're not just a kind of a place to learn and experience and go through the motions of that without any sort of product or any sort of something to share out, right? and so that would be more of a, like Jammers experience, where it's purely just, any kid that wants to come do it. There's no long commitments. You can do it by semester. That's like a totally different thing. And that's not what we are. It's just not the direction that I've chosen to go with the group and with the organization. But we do the mini camps throughout the year, which are just like 2 hours. They're open to anybody. You come in, you experience what we're kind of all about for 2 hours. And that's a good little nugget, because if you enjoyed it, then you can do a little bit more in the summer. And then if you enjoy that and you're in and your behavior is good and you can focus and you're all that stuff, then, there potentially could be a spot for you in the ensembles, and then just lather, rinse, repeat. And that's kind of how we've built up the ensembles and whatnot. So where that's going to zig is now going to be something that might be more open to actually opening it up to more kids. That's more of a virtual experience, more of a, getting content wherever you are kind of thing, and experiencing the joys of percussion and creating sounds and stuff. But not, like 20 minutes. I'm good. I'm out. I'm going to
Right.
Commit to a whole year and not having to waste that kind of time to create the product that we want to share out.
Right. And you're kind of thinking through that and the logistics, and not, how it would work, and what's the attention span, and how many kids can you manage virtually? Should parents be there? All of that.
And a bag of chips. But I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited about the challenge. I mean, that to me is just like, sweet problem. Let's find solutions.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds to me like there's huge leverage that can be used through the internet, right? And looking for the silver linings in this situation is really difficult, because of all the challenges that you have to just get through with stopping things that were, we took it for granted that we could just meet in person. And go do stuff. And now it's like, all right. Okay. How are we gonna? So I'll speak for myself here. Being a musician, I would love to get my son William involved. It sounds really cool. There's so many things that we could do, and this is another one. And this is just why we like to highlight Vienna, is because of people like you. So we're really, really thankful that we have you in the community as a leader, really, and serving the community, really, and providing an opportunity for kids to give back to the community through performance and teamwork and community. So Dave, thanks so much for sharing your studio, sharing your time, and we'll have to do another follow-up with you to see down the road where you are, and soon, within a couple months, just to see, hey, what are you, what's the solution you came up with, and how can parents get involved virtually and stuff like that? I would love to do that. That would be really cool.
That'd be fantastic. I appreciate that. I accept that challenge.
And hopefully at that point, we could do it in person, because that would be great.
That would be good.
So check out the website, viennajammers.org.
That's right.
viennajammers.org, and it's JAMMERS. For some reason, I was typing a Z. I don't know why. But thanks again, man, and we'll catch you soon. All right.
Sounds good. Thanks.
Cool, man.